come on, people. Come on. Okay, I'm going to step out of it, I promise. And they are doing all of this stuff to the populations by using human traits, our important human traits, against us. That's what we need to understand. So let's understand them. We're looking at frequencies now, and we're looking at frequencies within paradigms, and we're going to use some. We're going to draw some hard lines, really contrasting lines, so we see this. This needs to be seen so that we can understand. And here is a very important thing to understand regarding frequencies. You have high level frequency stuff, and then you have low level frequency stuff. High level frequency stuff, you can almost say that's like divinity. And I'm talking about religions of light as opposed to religions of darkness. I'm talking about divinity stuff. It's almost like the creative force fuses into things. That's high level frequency stuff. And then you have destructive forces, and that's low level frequency stuff. But each one of these kinds of different aspects creates paradigms in its wake. It's just like that Yale study. You throw people into financial hardship, and is the planet in financial hardship? Yes, very much so. And what's the outcome? Diminishment of the capacity of the brain to function at wherever it's supposed to function by a massive 20%. And if you understand anything about the brain, when you cut somebody's brain by 20%, you are really messing them up horrifically. But it creates a paradigm. It creates a paradigm in its wake. These things create paradigms in their wakes, and the paradigms have effects. You see, these paradigms, they come from the four-component level. The four-component level, the core level of humans. When you create paradigms, whether they're great paradigms or horrific paradigms, it's not just affecting one person. It's affecting the whole place, because you're dealing on levels that people just don't see. I don't see my soul. Who sees their soul? It's something you feel. You don't see it. I don't see my consciousness. Do you see your consciousness? We don't see it. It's not there like in black and white right in front of you. You can put it in your hand. It's not that sort of thing. It's on a level that cannot be seen and cannot be understood so quickly unless you already have this knowledge that was ripped away from you, away from us rather, so very long ago, ripped away from we the people so very long ago. But without that, it's hard to see. Like, we don't understand. This is being used against us to create these paradigms of just distress, and it's terrible. It's just literally terrible. There's no need for it at all, except for some maniacs at the top that rule the world. And I'm talking above governments here. Above governments. Governments are just people that work with them. Working with them and working against their own people. Look at what's going on the planet today. That's not in the interest of we the people. I don't care what nation you're talking about. Just look at it. It's not in the interest of we the people. It's in the interest of some other group. And they go along because, money flows. Money flows. And here's the real thing to see in this little understanding here. Where the money is flowing from, these people have a very, very, very good idea of paradigms that are being created. They understand this. What I'm going to tell you, what I'm telling you, and all of these things, they understand this. They get it. They understand it. They know what they're doing. It's not some bumbling, jumbling thing where, oh, well, we didn't know that was going to happen. Yes, they know exactly what's going to happen. It's like me with the goats in the backyard. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Okay? They understand. These are human traits. These humans create paradigms. This is the kind of paradigm we want. So we'll apply this kind of pressure or institution or thinking or societal brainwashing or this or that or whatever. All the stuff that goes on today, quite frankly. We'll spray stuff in the air. We'll put stuff in the water. We'll put GMO everywhere. It's about the paradigm. It's about the paradigm. And because it is about the paradigm, it is also about the frequencies that come from those paradigms that go to make them up. Yes. This is an incredibly important point. I hope you pick it up. I hope you listen to this enough so that you pick this up. A matter of fact, let me throw this in, and I'm going to look at religious ideas, not a religious idea, religious ideas in general, sweeping religious ideas going back thousands and thousands of years. We're going to couch this. We're going to couch this in frequency so you can see it, because this has everything to do with the frequency and the paradigm as well. It has everything to do with this. Everything. Imagine this. Imagine that religion is not about, okay, well, I'm thinking this and I'm thinking that and I'm doing this and it's all lovey-dovey and blah, 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 whatever. But imagine that religion was actually about something else. Imagine that it was about a paradigm and a frequency. And imagine it was a contrast of, okay, these are good paradigms and these are bad paradigms. And when I say good and bad, I mean good for the population, bad for the population. All right? Because we're talking about religion because we want to extract something out of it for this understanding. And then imagine, if you will, that there really is a consciousness to the universe, and that this planet really was being monitored by whatever is behind creation, because it is in fact filled with life and it is in fact creation. So imagine, if you will, that the creative intelligence, the creative force, whatever that is, I think of Star Wars if you want to, who cares? Imagine, if you will, that intelligence says, okay, well, we have to make some adjustments. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some kind of event. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's something that you see in the sky. I mean, who knows? Think of all the movies you've ever seen in your life. Who knows? This is an analogy. We're just winging it because I want you to see something here. So the being says, the creative force says, okay, well, we've got to shift these paradigms to something more high vibrational, because when it's high vibrational, we can work with it, we can work through it. When it's not high vibrational, we can't, and these people have free will, so it's not that we can just go and do whatever we want. It doesn't work that way. That's not how the universe is set up. So they say, or it says, or however you want to see that, however it is you want to see that, it says, okay, well, we're going to create this one event. Let's pick India, because this is a safe bet. Because it's a pretty safe bet to talk about India without anybody freaking out in the West. Okay, let's say the whole population is doing Hinduism. And let's say once upon a time in 500 BC, or roughly thereabouts, the universal consciousness says, wow, this thing is getting kind of messed up. It's creating these paradigms that, this caste system, paradigm system, and it's kind of messing stuff up. So what we're going to do is we're going to find somebody, and that's what we know of today as Buddha. So we're going to find somebody, and we're going to infuse them, and we're going to start pouring our divine ideas inside this guy's head, because we want to create a more high frequency paradigm in this place right here. In this place right here, India, because it's safe to talk about without anybody freaking out. I would use Christ, but people are going to freak out, so we don't want to do that. So what happens? The divine frequency finds a being, Gautama, the Buddha guy, that actually really wants this role. I mean, literally wants this role. He wants to unionize, create in union with whatever the creative force actually is. Whatever that idea in his head is of, oh, this is the creative force of the universe, this is it. And I want to be one with it. I want to merge with it. Because I just have this deep inner feeling that, all of these things I've been taught, it's missing the mark. It's not right. So what happens in this analogy here is that the force, let's just call it the divine force. The divine force comes in, infuses this guy, and starts putting all of these ideas and all of these thoughts over time within his being, and that all four of his components, and they come up and they come up and they come up. And when I say come up, I mean the frequency level changes over time. All four of his components come up to a higher frequency rather. And then boom, eventually he becomes the Buddha. And now he's seeing things from the Buddha's point of view, and the Buddha's point of view is a guy that's literally plugged into the universe. He's like a shaman or something. And so now he's walking around in India 2,500 years ago. This is before Christ, so Christians, don't freak out, please. Stay calm. We're going somewhere here. And he's teaching light. He's saying, look, there's a better way. Let's imagine this if you will. Imagine this if you will. Please, look at this. And he ends up cutting through a bunch of ideologies. And these ideologies were creating bad paradigms because of human trait. The human trait is humans are going to create paradigms, whether they like it or not, whether they know it or not, whether they're willing to do it or not. It's going to happen. It's like the goats that are going to eat grass. They're going to eat grass and they're going to poop. Now they can do it happily or they can be forced upon them, but that's what's going to happen. It's just like that. It's just like that's what a human trait is. But all of this goes on because the frequencies, it has been determined by the creative force, the frequencies need to be raised because it's time to bring in more creativity, it's time to bring in more light, it's time to bring in more stuff that is good for we the people, the populations. And this is 2,500 years ago. And don't let your ideologies, don't let your religious ideologies jack you up here. Just listen to this. That's all. That's all I'm asking. And if you're ideological about your religion and you're freaking out on, oh my God, how dare I mention the Buddha, you'll know what I'm saying to you, because I'm talking to you. We are getting to the point of frequencies, and we need to hear this. So it's a good thing. Trust me. Anyway, so the paradigms in this analogy of 2,500 years ago eventually get shifted to a higher frequency because these people are thinking different things. Now, when you get to a higher frequency, now that frequency comes in alignment, more of an alignment. Okay, you're never going to get to a perfect alignment. It's not going to happen while you're an earthling. Trust me. I mean, it won't. But the alignment, in other words, the frequency comes up high enough so that more of the divine frequency can come in and interplay with the populations. It's just like that. It's just like that paradigm I talked about when I grew up in San Diego as a little kid, and all of these people were like, church-going folk, and actually the place I was in, the parents looked out for the other kids, and people cared about each other. They literally genuinely cared about each other. There was a lot of compassion going on, but that's part of the Christ frequency. Part of the Christ frequency is compassion. But it was a frequency, and this is what I'm talking about, because there was a lot of divine infusement going on in the population in those days, but the paradigm had not shifted to what it is today. Today it's a different paradigm altogether. You're not going to find that thing I'm talking about. You're going to have to look very hard to find it. And it might be happening in little pockets here and there, but it's not happening in whole cities anymore, which is unfortunate. But back to this analogy. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at the paradigm and the frequencies that are coming out of it, and we're talking about the Buddha. So the paradigms get raised to higher frequencies. Now, this is where creativity comes in. So you might want to put on your thinking cap for this one. It's kind of important, because creativity is how we come up with the cool stuff. It's also how we come up with a cool atmosphere, and I'm not talking about the global atmosphere. I'm talking about the atmosphere inside the paradigm itself. Is it a good paradigm or is it a bad paradigm? Refer to the Wizard of Oz. Or is it a good witch or a bad witch? I mean, it's that sort of thing. It's like yes or no. One of those kind of things.